Hello, good sir. We are recording right now in the studios of Fuck You Town because I don't know. Say hi.
Wow, that's it's an interesting intro to a sto
Well,
I
I am
mean,
annoyed because of certain person, but that's beside the point.
what did I do?
You know what you did
I don't know what I did. Why would I be asking?
because you pretend that you don't know so that I feel bad about saying that I'm mad at you.
I don't think that's how it works.
Anyway, we are
Oh,
reading this that I have on my screen right now because yeah, because we can't read the other ones, the longer one, because he will fall asleep.
oh, be quiet. You don't have a
Okay,
full-time job.
okay, I will stop being a dick to him.
You unproductive member of society. That's not even in my country.
That doesn't
Ooh,
make
do you need
any
some ointment for that
that
burn?
no, that doesn't make any sense.
Yes, it does.
No, you're. How can you complain that I'm not a product member of or of your country when I'm not on your country?
'Cause it's a global economy, bro.
That
Get
just.
with the program. I
I,
don't know. I'm just being grumpy.
uh, as you can very clearly see, we have the best of friends of friendly relationships right here. Oh my god, that is just.
Yep,
That
I
is.
know how much you hate it. So,
Oh, shut up.
best of friends, eh?
Let's just start this fucking thing before I kill you.
You're the one who's supposed to be reading.
What? No. You started.
Pardon?
You started reading last time and you fell asleep while you were reading.
That is a lie.
What?
Slanderous lies.
Well, you didn't fall asleep, but you were like, and then you were like,
Yeah,
and then
more
you.
lies.
Oh, shut up. Just start.
maybe next time you should record it, just like everything else.
I have it recorded. I erased it because I didn't want to embarrass you.
Ooh. Oh, I'm sure.
Well, anyway, who reads the description? Do you do it or I do it?
I believe that would be your job.
Fine. Flash Entry is a nobody, and he knows it. But when a mysterious fortune teller hints at his path to greatness, he determines to embrace his destiny and to bring along a famous journalist to record the details of posterity. Uh,
What?
and I don't know what this story canon is. Story canon
What?
compelled up through the end of season 4. It stands on its
The
own, but
story is canon compliant up through the end of season 4. It stands on its own, but in relation to other cheese pie stories, it falls just after Goodbye Boneless. Oh yes, an implied cheese pie, although this shouldn't be a big surprise.
okay. What does
So
that have?
he's basically saying that the story is basically canon compliant, so it is based off of canon, I assume, for up through the end of season 4.
And with other fanfics, I guess.
With other fanfics that he's written involving uh, Pinkie Pie and Cheese Sandwich,
Oh, I think I get it. Okay.
which is an interesting mix because if Cheese Sandwich is anywhere close to the age of Weird Al, he's old. He's like old.
I don't think cheese is the
But then
same.
again, in the show, they were both Philly and Colt at the same time, so I guess as far as the show goes, they can't be that different in age.
Yeah. Well, anyway, shall we start this then?
Yeah, I guess.
You have it open.
Yes, it's open.
The first chapter.
Yes, it's open.
Good.
You doubt everything I do.
Yeah.
You,
I doubt
it's like
everything you
I
do
have a
because every time
wife.
I ask, you say no.
What do you mean? I'd say no. That isn't true at all. See, this is like okay. I'm gonna rant about Nico a little bit. He nags me like a wife. It's ridiculous. Like I didn't even know. It's just whenever we're recording.
Well, I do it because I try to make this better for everybody.
Doesn't that sound like a wife?
you, you, You are so right. It's ridiculous.
Stop being my wife, you idiot. Get with the program.
I like how we are supposed to be reading this and then we are ranting about it
I think,
like an
yeah,
arguing couple. Just start
I guess,
reading
I
before
guess
people
it's
think
part
it's
of the
more weird.
commentary. You can put an annotation that skips to the beginning of the story if people don't want to hear our nagging.
You're right.
Or your nagging, sorry.
Oh, just shut up and start
Okay.
reading.
Flash Sentry pressed his muzzle and both front hooves flat against the cold iron bars.
Oh my god, that's a way to
What?
start this. They start in prison?
Okay. He didn't know how long he'd been here, but it felt like forever. Uh, okay. His coat was getting itchy, his boots were full of gunk, and the plaintive musical wail coming from the back of the cell didn't help. He whirled around and snapped at one of his two cellmates. Shut up, cheese.
Shut up, cheese. I read the things, remember?
Right.
Okay, keep going.
The music stopped. Cheese Sandwich pushed back his hat and looked up from where he was seated, his back to the wall.
You're supposed to play the harmonica in jail.
He retorted and went back to playing. His other cellmate's pale blonde mane shone in the gloom, highly visible from his spot huddled on the floor to Flash's right.
This is probably an excellent place for me to have my nervous breakdown.
You know, I'd have to agree with that. If you're going to have a nervous breakdown, jail is probably the place to do it.
Good point.
You're not going anywhere. You're not going to hurt anybody. There's really nothing you can break. Turner said, his voice deceptively calm.
One does like to be at the premiere of any new attraction. I'm certain I'll be at the very first to suffer a complete mental collapse here. If I remember your tour with Miss Rarity correctly, Ponyville didn't have a dungeon before. Ponyville didn't have a castle before.
Cheese pointed out helpfully and began playing the harmonica again. Flash wasn't really surprised to be here, not after what he had done. The question wasn't, how could this possibly have gone wrong? There wasn't really any scenario in which it could have gone right. The real question, the true million-bit question was, what was I thinking?
Well, that's a way to start.
Yeah, it is one way to start, I guess. Okay. There are some ponies who think going alone to a book reading is a perfect way to spend a Saturday night.
Twilight.
But Flash Sentry wasn't one of them. Accompanying Princess Cadence on a visit from the Crystal Empire, the sophisticated life of Canterlot, Saturday night off duty, you'd think a royal guard could come up with something better to do, and yet here he was, the only pony present at a book signing by a travel writer who claimed to be trying to be relatable. The travel writer, a thin brown unicorn wearing a green sweater, read from a chapter in which he'd eaten seaweed with spruce in Vancouver. They get clever with some of those city puns.
Yeah.
Flash sat politely and with perfect posture, a habit acquired from spending most of his adult life in the guards, and let his mind wander, a habit also acquired from spending most of his adult life in the guards. He had not had a good day. There had been a lot of paperwork. The other guards had made fun of him for being spooked by a possum.
Wait, what?
And do you not know what an opossum is?
No.
It's basically, imagine a rat,
Yeah.
but it's like a little bit bigger than a cat.
I remember now what it is. Yeah.
And they're ugly.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they're good eating.
Hmm.
Oh, crap. Where was I? Oh,
And
here
a
we are.
person.
He'd received a letter from his little brother. It was nice to hear from first base. Whoa.
Well,
That's
that's the name.
an interesting... At the same time, it wasn't, because first base had a totally unrealistic idea of what his big brother's life in the guards was like. He was brave, dashing, and on top of it, he was seeing a princess. This was technically true, thought Flash. He saw princesses all the time. They walked past him, and if he was lucky, he didn't draw attention to himself by sneezing or something. Sometimes he got to say things like his blah-de-blah is a blah-blah, and he supposed that counted as talking to them, or at least in front of them. As for the youngest, the one first base thought he was seeing, he'd seen her a grand total of 2 or 3 times, and he hadn't known much about her except that she was purple and a lot shorter than the other ones. Until she kicked some serious monster flank a while back, then everybody knew all about her, but he didn't know more about her than anybody else. It would be kind of cool to get a commendation sometime, something like Best Guard Announcer of the Year Who Hardly Ever Coughs would do. That would be the best award. Like, could you imagine walking into somebody's house and they have that engraved in a plaque on the wall?
Made of
Best
gold.
Guard Announcer of the Year
Yeah,
Who Hardly Ever
and you
Coughs.
imagine like it's made of gold, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, and she's like, this award given to Best Guard Announcer of the Year. This award granted to, and then in like very terrible writing, Flash Sentry, or Hardly Ever Coughing. Then Princess Cadence would attach it to his uniform next to the surprisingly long service pin, and he could tell first base that Princess gave him a medal, and that would make him feel important at school. What? Kids these days, I guess. It would be even nicer to have a real adventure and be really great at something and have every pony read all about him in the papers, but he knew his limits. Someday they'd write on his tombstone, Flash Sentry. He was just sort of there.
there.
The travel writer stopped reading.
You're really not interested in this, are you?
Flash started and looked around guiltily.
Yes, of course I am. That's very polite of you.
Said the unicorn, and he began levitating his papers and copies of his book into his saddlebags.
I was tired of being the most interesting one in Equestria. It's a nice change of pace. I need some coffee.
Flash noticed his jumpiness and the dark circles under his eyes. I'm sorry, but when there are dark circles under my eyes, I don't know until I'm in front of a mirror. And half the time when I'm in front of a mirror, I don't
No,
realize I'm
I
in
think
front
he
of a
means the
mirror.
jumpiness of the other pony.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And thought the last thing the travel writer needed was more coffee, but said,
Do you need any help, Mister?
the travel writer stared at him through his glasses with narrowed eyes, then let out a sharp crack of laughter.
Do you mean you have been sitting through my reading and you have no idea who I am? Priceless. You must have been terribly bored.
He lifted his hoof,
Tenderhoof.
he said, shaking his pale blonde mane out of his eyes.
But you can call me Tren. I take the mundane, the simple, the unappreciated, and I make it relatable.
Disagreeable. Flash clanked hooves with him.
Flash entry, and I stand around and announce things. Well, come
Sums it
join
up,
me. I'm having come join me in having something with quite a lot of coffee in it, Flash entry.
said Trenderhoof, securing his saddlebags.
And I shall be able to provide tedium. I have no idea how to pronounce that.
I believe it's teat teat, but I have no idea what that means.
Teat a teat. I'm not gonna make a pun based on tits. That will be unpolite.
What the heck, man? Just keep going,
Have you ever reached a crisis in your face, Flash? A crossroads?
said Trenderhoof with some time later. As they said, oh my goodness! I told you we should have recorded earlier. As they sat in the coffee shop adjoining the bookstore,
You have achieved nearly everything you always meant to,
the unicorn went on, absently levitating his spoon around in his latte.
and it's begun to feel hollow, empty. You have reached the summit, and now there's nothing left to do and nowhere left to go but long slides downwards. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know about you, but that long slide downwards, if you had a sled, would be one heck of a trip. I cannot tell you, I've had the thought so many times, if I ever make it to the top of Mount Everest, which I probably will never do, but big if, like if I win a trip or something, I am bringing a sled. I don't care if I'll have a parachute too if I go off a cliff, I'll learn how to base jump. I'll bring a squirrel suit if I have to the top of Mount
A
Everest,
squirrel
just so I
suit.
can
Oh,
sled
I get
down.
it.
Just so I can sled down. Flash didn't. His career in the Guards had leapt from pinnacle of mediocrity to pinnacle of mediocrity. The few promotions he'd had were almost all owing to seniority. No, he was not going to look back on a brilliant military career. That was not going to be his road to greatness.
Well, in his favor, probably no military in Equestria is useful ever.
I'm sure it serves its purpose. Even in a place where it's completely peaceful, I bet that there's crazies who are willing to make a mad dash to meet or like what happened to that one guy in the Beatles. Why can't I remember his name? People are going to make fun of me for not remembering his name, but he got shot
Hmm.
and killed by a guy who was insane and thought he was the guy that he killed. Like he felt like the real guy was an imposter,
Yeah.
and so he's like in an
Oh,
insane.
I get what you
Insane.
mean. Yeah.
I don't remember who he was, but it's like I'm sure there's people like that. Like I am the business. Yeah.
The princess, I must see them. I will touch their mane.
I want their sweat. Oh my god. I was at a concert for the Foo Fighters, which you may or may not be familiar with that band, but I'm sure other people are. I was at a concert for the Foo Fighters a couple of years ago, and I kid you not, there was a guy with a sponge and a glass bottle. And when I asked what it was for, he said, I'm going to do everything within my power to collect the sweat of
What?
the band members. And I
What?
was just like, really? And he's like, yes. And at first I thought it was a joke, but there was this look in his eye.
Oh my god.
And then later during the concert, I looked out into the crowd. I wasn't that far from the front. This guy, I kid you not, is at the front of the mosh pit, which wasn't really moshing, but it was there. Um, and I swear he is holding up that sponge like he is soaking up sunshine.
Oh god,
And
that is
he is just, I
horrible.
mean, and he is like flailing it back and forth. And all of the guys on stage are like a good 12 feet from the edge of the stage. I mean, they're not, even if sweat was flying, it's not anywhere close to where the sponge is.
Uh,
And so in the end, I saw the same guy later. I didn't talk to him, but I saw him after the show. I went to the bathroom, and you know, a thing me and my family do is we always like wait till the end, till everybody else is gone. That way, it's not crowded when we leave. So we hang around and we
yeah, we do the
talk.
same when we go to concerts and stuff.
I go to the bathroom and I go in, and he's the only other guy in the bathroom. And I watch him, and he's like grumpy looking, and he's clearly irritated, and he is using the sponge to get like water and like residue from like what splashes on the mirrors, and he
What?
is squeezing it out into the bottle because it will look like sweat, because I don't think he got any, which doesn't surprise me, but it's gross.
That is creepy and
It
disgusting,
was
and he had no
weird.
pressure in this reading for no reason, and you brought it up.
No, wait, there was a reason.
Yeah, okay, it actually kinda makes sense, but let's just keep going
I can't remember what the reason was.
because we were talking about the why the
Oh,
military is
right.
useful in Equestria.
Okay. That was an interesting segue. Um,
Where the fuck were we?
uh, but
Uh,
there was what that gypsy fortune teller had told him. It was all coming back to him now. It was back in the Crystal Empire, the evening of the visit from the Duke and Duchess of Meritonia.
okay.
Right before all Tartarus let loose, he'd been walking around aimlessly trying to think of something to do when he'd seen a gaily painted I don't know if that's anyways, gaily painted tent he couldn't remember having seen
I'm
before.
sorry, but what is a gaily painted tent in Equestria? Because everything is painted in pink, yellow, and things like that.
Maybe I don't see it's spelled with an I. I'm not familiar with that spelling of gaily. It might mean something different.
Whatever, just keep going.
With a banner reading "Fortunes Told." There wasn't any harm in having his fortune told, right? Maybe his future would be more interesting than his past or his present. And besides, in Equestria, if somebody has a cutie mark for telling your fortune, that's probably a little bit more reliable than anything we've got here.
Yeah, I guess so.
He pushed past the tent flaps and peered into the semi-darkness. He could just make out a table with a crystal ball on it, and behind it a mare swathed in shawls and a turban that clashed with the bright pink of her coat and mane. Ooh!
I can tell who this is.
Yeah, of course, who cannot?
Hello? Oh, sorry. Can you really read the future?
He said.
I have the answer you seek.
She said, waving her hooves over the crystal ball.
Let us consult the mystical orb.
He came forward and sat at a table, feeling like an idiot, who doesn't, but excited at the same time. A real fortune teller.
Is there anything interesting in my future? Am I ever going to be good at something?
Said the fortune teller.
Nope, not saying anything yet. Like maybe
What a letdown.
like maybe I'll be a great military commander after all? Nope. Or maybe I should quit the course and become a musician? I always wanted to be a rock star. I said you want to keep your day job. Oh, hey, there is something. That's amazing.
She brought the ball so close to her eyes that it and they were practically touching.
You're going to be great at something. Really? What?
He asked excitedly.
You're going to be a great waffle stealer. What? A waffle stealer. You're going to be the greatest waffle stealer ever.
Waffle. Flash removed his helmet and scratched his... Hey, wait a second. What is Flash's cutie mark again? Do you remember?
I have it right here on the. It was a shield with lighting on it. Why?
Because, like, I'm just realizing, like, we don't know what his talent is, and I thought his cutie mark might give us some insight, but it didn't. Anyways.
What do you expect his cutie mark to be? A waffle with a hand on it?
Yes, a waffle with a gloved hand, and everyone would always ask him, "What's that?" I believe it's called a hand. I've never seen one either.
Oh, that is perfect.
Because, like, a gloved hoof would look like a football.
You were on Flash removed.
Flash removed it. Well, I said that already.
Oh, sorry. How am I going to do that?
The fortune teller shook the ball, and snow fell.
Repsy Hesley, ask again later. Nope, come on.
Are you kidding? It's a magic 8-ball. She said, shrugging.
I don't know. Just passing it on. That's all I got.
She was entirely absorbed in the ball now, and Flash thought he'd better leave. As he slipped out of the tent, out of the corner of his eye, he could see the fortune teller shaking the ball again.
Ooh.
She said as glittery flakes moved around in its interior.
Sparkly. Waffle stealing,
cried Flash, seizing Trenderhoof by the front of his green sweater.
That's it, a waffle stealing raid. Are you going to go with me? Excuse me?
Stammered Trenderhoof, catching the latte before it spilled. Oh my goodness, can you imagine what it's like? A waffle raid? Are we going to IHOP?
You're a journalist. You write about food. You say you take mundane and make it reliable, and that's what's more mundane like waffles. This is really rather strawberry waffles, chocolate waffles. I don't think apple cinnamon waffles.
Trenderhoof froze. Oh dear. And his eyes suddenly went wide.
Apple waffles?
He intoned.
Apple waffles. Yes. I knew it was a great idea. Yes, steal the apple waffles.
Said Trend. A tick had started going in his cheek now too. A tick. I've got a bad feeling.
You said you wanted to do something different, Trent.
Said Flash, grabbing one thin leg and pulling him to his feet.
Well, this is different. It's a real adventure, and you can write it all down.
Trenderhoof didn't actively resist.
Apple waffles. Must write it down. Come on,
cried Flash. He was a leader now of something.
It'll be fun.
Okay.
Well, this is pretty fun already.
This is ridiculous.
This is funny as hell.
Let's end the video for this chapter. But I mean, that's I mean,
That is
I always,
that is pretty funny.
I felt like, I guess, yeah. I mean, as far as canon compliant, I guess there was never really a lot given for either Flash Sentry or Tenderhoof, so it's like
Well,
anything
we're gonna see
goes.
cheese on the next episodes, I'm sure.
Hmm?
We're gonna see cheese on the next parts, I'm pretty sure.
Right, but I mean, even with him, there still wasn't a lot there, so it's like the same thing there.